Hi, welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed the film. I am here with the folks involved in the film, and I'm just so excited for y'all to meet them, get to know them, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Ben and Bloom and the creation of the film and all the good things that came with it. So, just as like a recap, Stella, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, and who you are in relation to the film. Go ahead.
Hi again, everyone. My name is Stella Lopresti-Busick. I use she, her pronouns. And in relation to the film, I am the subject. Uh, though you saw a bit of a past version of me, um, that girl still lives in here, and you're going to hear a lot about her, I promise.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Natalie, I'm going to hand it over to you next.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jasmine Harris, and I am the director of Ben and Bloom.
Amazing. Thank you. And Rose.
Hi, I'm Rose, and I am Stella's mom. Proudly to say.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for being here. All right. And Marlene, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. And also, Marlene has some exciting announcements, news to bring us live today. So, Marlene, I'm going to hand it over to you to share with us what you have.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Marlene Prey. My pronouns are she, her. And I love you, Stella. And I am the director and founder of Planned Parenthood Keystone's Rainbow Room, the queer youth center here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And I think we're gonna, I think we're gonna see some images of a rally that I just left, literally like 10 minutes ago. I don't know. Will I see them on my screen? Maybe
You
not.
won't, but I see them
I won't.
happening.
You got it. Okay. So I don't know what the images are of, but they are of the Trans Day Visibility Rally. So happy Trans Day Visibility to everyone. And as you saw in the film, the Rainbow Room is a dear place to Stella and also to a lot of queer young people here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And this is right smack in the middle of Doylestown Borough, which is the kind of the hub of the Central Bucks School District where Stella went to school. And we put out a call for a Trans Day Visibility Vigil or rally rather to be today. And I was like, oh, let's bring 100 pride flags, trans pride flags. And within it was 5:06 and all of the flags had been claimed. So we had well over 100 people, probably closer to 200 people. And just so much joy and love. We were playing music. Somebody brought little wrapped cookies for everyone. The Rainbow Room brought cookies and flowers and stickers. And I have been to a lot of demonstrations and protests and rallies in this town for the 28 years I've lived here. And there have never been as many supportive, positive honks and cheers driving by at this hour ever. And I have a lot of data to base that comparison on, which I think is a proud moment with everything that's going on in this country and in this community and the fight that continues here in our local school district. So those are some of the images that you just saw. So thanks.
That is amazing. These photos are so cool and just heartwarming. So thank you so much for doing that and sharing that with us. I think it really just elevates this feeling of trans joy and celebration today, as we also get to bask in the joy and celebration of Stella's film. So cool. Okay, back into the conversation around the film. Natalie, I want to start with you. I'm so curious, what brought you to this film? What made you want to make this film? What was your journey here?
Yeah, so as a filmmaker, I am really invested in telling coming of age stories. Basically, all of my films are different ways of telling coming of age stories and capturing especially queer joy and just experiences that we don't always see on screen. And so there was a call out for filmmakers to pitch documentary films within Bucks County, Pennsylvania, specifically New Hope, celebrates. There's an LGBTQ organization that had this really massive archive, and they were looking to create films about the town and the larger region. And so I pitched to do a film about queer and trans youth. And I found out about what was happening in a lot of the Bucks County schools. And I did my research and submitted a proposal. And obviously, what I wrote in my proposal was very different from what we actually made, because I didn't know like who I was going to follow. I didn't know, who the film was going to star. But I went to Pennsylvania, and I had meetings with so many different young people and parents and families trying to figure out like who was going to be the star of the film. And I met a lot of really great people with really, inspiring stories. But after I got back, we got connected with Stella through Marlene. And we had a Zoom call. I'll never forget, we had a Zoom call with Stella and Rose. And about like 5 minutes in, I just knew that they were so perfect for this film, and their stories and their love that they had for each other was just really, really special. And so I knew, I was like, okay, we're going to follow them, and it's going to be about the work that the Rainbow Room is doing. And, even though, how I said earlier, there are so many hardships that queer and trans youth have to overcome, especially in Bucks County, there's also so much joy and so much community that Marlene really is cultivating. And I really wanted to center on that because, we can all like Google and watch the news and figure out about all of the hardships that are going on, but we often don't get to see the joy, and also the support that is out there. So I really, really wanted to focus on that. And I just knew like the love that they had for each other was really, really special. And yeah, I just knew that I had to tell the story.
That's so cool. I think what you're saying about the love that you can see between the three people here is just so immense. I just saw someone in the chat said it's so beautiful to see such an incredible support system gathered here today. Good for the soul. And I completely agree. It's really beautiful to see the different types of like community and support and allyship that can show up around a person. And I love that you were able to capture that in this film.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Stella, I want to hear from you. Like, okay, Marlene is like, hey, I have this opportunity for you. You hop on this Zoom call. You're hearing about this idea of like starring in a documentary. Take us back to that place. What was your initial thoughts? How did you feel about being the subject of a film?
Yeah. So basically how it happened was Marlene and I have been in many, 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 many group chats together, doing different things, planning different things, connecting different people, that sort of thing. And in one of them, one day, Marlene sent a sort of like, it was like a flyer with this information of people to reach out to. And I was like, okay, I'll put my hat in the ring. Whatever, it's fine. Okay. So then we got connected with Natalie and some other people, and we were able to do a Zoom meeting. And I've always lived my life with, well, not always, but since I was a sophomore in high school, lived my life with the mantra of like high hopes, low expectations. And so that's what I went into it with. I remember that Zoom call like it was yesterday also. And at the end, I actually thought I didn't do well. I was like, oh, well, that's, I sort of shot myself in the foot there. And turns out I did do well.
Yeah.
Then Natalie and Jessica and Liat got back to me and sort of told me about this opportunity. And I remember having a lot of feelings about it. First of all, obviously, I was super excited. I remember my mom and I were like very, very overjoyed about the prospect. And then I got nervous because I was like, ah, That's basically how it went. Um, and because I have always been someone that, well, again, not always, but the person that this person presently is has for a very long time been someone comfortable being the center of attention, especially when it comes to advocacy. When it comes to like a random party, maybe not so much, but when it comes to advocacy and activism, I'm comfortable with eyes being on me. I have a public speaking background. It is something that I am comfortable with. But the idea of being on a platform where more people could see what I was doing, what I was saying, it was a little bit nerve-wracking because I was like, "Oh my goodness, am I gonna say the right things? Am I gonna do the right things? Am I gonna be the representation that I've always wanted to look for?" And I ended up over-intellectualizing it. And I remember my mom stopped me before we filmed for this first day and was like, "Can you breathe for like 1 second?" And I was like, "I'm fine." And she was like, no, you're not. Like, chill out for a moment, and be you, because that's why we're here." And because she knows me very well, she was able to look in and be like, "I can see you thinking about this too much. Stop." And so I did. And instead, I put all of my trust in Natalie, which was hard for me at the time because, as many queer and gender diverse people might be able to relate to, I have issues with trust. Um, but I have never been more happy to put trust in someone like I put trust in Natalie and continue to put trust in Natalie. When I was in London, she was like my lifeline. And they sort of captured my story with my mom in such an incredible way. And then when I saw it for the first time, I burst into tears. I cried and I cried and I cried. And I saw it for the first time in the Bucks County Playhouse, so in the theater where it technically premiered for the first time, because I had the opportunity to see it beforehand, but my mom and I decided we weren't going to, and we were going to watch with everybody else. And it opened up a lot of emotions, but mostly pride, and I love it so much. And just a brief foray in talking about community and advocacy and finding the people that we love and enjoy, I do want to say something really quick. I am not presently in my apartment. I am in the apartment of one of my dearest friends who shares the queer and gender diverse experience with me. And do you want to come say hello? Come here. Hi.
Hi guys.
This is Alex, one of my best friends. And yeah,
Okay,
we're just
okay.
it just yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
On Transgender Day of Visibility, my mom is excited because she hasn't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
On Transgender Day of Visibility, I think it is so important to highlight true and real LGBT friendships, and this person is someone I love very, very much. So, yes, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's so great to meet you. Thank you for sharing. That's so precious. I love the pop-up from the floor.
I know.
That is so queer
I wasn't
coded.
expecting that.
Yeah, well, okay, so she came in a couple minutes ago and didn't want to be on camera, so shimmied across her floor.
Yeah, I wanted to be discreet. And yeah, so
That's awesome.
Thank you, Riley.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that also, Stella, of like your whole like emotional journey of being in this film. I think that it's really relatable. Rose, I love the like check-in, like this is about you and like you got this. Like I love that moment. That's really special. I'm a camp counselor at heart. So one of the things that we did at camp every night is we would check in with everyone about their rose and their thorns, pun intended. But so really like I want to know, what is your rose from making this film? So like what was your favorite moment of this process of making the film? And then a thorn, I'm curious if there was any like challenging moments or things you had to like pivot at last minute, or a barrier you had to kind of overcome. Rose, I see you like smiling and laughing. So I want to hand it over to you first with your rose and thorn of filming this Ben in Bloom.
Oh, well, thank you. I think the best moment was just meeting the team and Natalie, I just my heart will forever be connected to Natalie, and the crew was just wonderful. And I think the relationships that we cultivated that week, I think will live forever. And of course, any time spent with Marlene is just so much fun. So it was great. It was great to be with her as well, and to just share those moments with Stella. I think the most challenging thing, and I think I don't, I'm sure Natalie remembers, but I think the most challenging was the huge thunderstorm we had when we were filming in the church, and it was so loud. The thunder and the rain was so loud that we had to keep stopping, and it was making me get more nervous, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this poor film crew." I was just getting so nervous, but the thunder was just unbelievable. But they were so calm and so wonderful. I was so afraid that my makeup was sweating off, and because the air conditioning kept going out and it was so hot. But it all ended up so great, and again, the whole crew was there with me and Natalie and Drew and the sound guy and everybody, Jenny, and they were just terrific and calmed me down and turned it into the beautiful scene that it was. So uh,
I
yeah.
actually forgot about that until you just mentioned, and how that thunderstorm was scary.
I thought we were gonna have a tornado.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And also to your point about like creating like a community that you'll never forget. That is so like present every time I join a Zoom with all four of you. Like y'all are like, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you. I love you so much." And it is just like so heartwarming to see that. Like I just love that exists. Like everybody needs that kind of community and support and just like outpouring of love. Natalie, what about you? What was your rose and thorn of this film?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my rose is the same, like being able to meet all of you, and we've kind of all become a little family,
Mhm.
and have kept in touch so beautifully. I didn't even realize that, how much time has passed since we shot the film, and how we've still been able to see each other and reconnect and stay in touch. And it's been really beautiful, especially to, for me being really passionate about coming of age stories. And like I had my own really big development when I went from high school to college. I went to an all girls boarding school that was very conservative, and then I went to college in the city, and came into my queerness. And I really know what that journey is like, and so it's been really beautiful to watch Stella, and just to know that there is hope and joy, for our queer and trans youth. It's just really like brightens my life, especially when I think about all of the difficult things that are happening. And as especially Marlene, like the work that you do with the Rainbow Room, just really, really makes me know that like we'll be okay. And it just really brings me hope, and especially in dark times. So just having being able to like use film to shine a light on you all has just been really rewarding and encouraging. And seeing the film go so far, has, yeah, just been really incredible. I would say my thorn probably came in the editing of the film. Documentary editing is so hard because there's no script. Like you don't really know what it's going to look like. So we were like, okay, we can take a more journalistic approach, and and we can use news clips, and we can make it more topical. um and I really didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be more of like a slice of life, a personal film. But sometimes, sometimes doing that and taking a little bit of a stylistic risk is something that some people may not understand. But I really had to just make a decision and decide, like, this is the story that I want to tell, and this is how I want to tell it. So we ended up having a really beautiful experience. Our editor, Harry, who I've worked with on my other short film, Grace, he really transformed the film into something that, makes me cry too. And I think that making that choice to stick with it being a personal story, stick with us following the joy and not really having to use, news clips or media clips that you can see on your own, and really kind of have a departure from that joy, made such a big difference. And I think that's why I love the film so much, and why we all love the film is because it really focuses on that perspective of joy and like overcoming. And yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a tough decision to make, but I'm really grateful that I did it, and that I had the right team around me to encourage me, and just to give their insight and make the film into what it is.
Amazing. And I think you absolutely made the right decision with the editing. Like, it is just, it's
Thank
so
you.
beautiful. The little animations just make it so like so cute and like personal, and like really brings you like the story, like Rose's story. It really places you in that world without like showing like news clippings, like you said. Like
Mhm.
it makes it more personal to Rose's experience rather than like the global, like what the news was seeing.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, the animation too. I want to shout out our amazing animator, Johanna, who really did such an amazing job. And I remember I was like, I don't really want to put in news headlines of, those clips. And so she was able to use animation to convey that so beautifully. It really just like everyone used their talents and passion and worked together so well for it to come together.
Yeah, 100%. It's so beautiful and definitely like emotional. Like you said, can make everyone cry. Marlene, do you have any rose and thorns that you want to share with us?
Sure. So many roses. Well, gosh, I mean, I feel forever connected to Stella and Natalie. Like, I feel like I'm going to be connected with the two of you for the rest of my life. Um, and one of the things that was, there's been a lot of harm and a lot of pain in this community, that's made national news and been featured, and like and with that has been this sense of almost extraction that some people come to Bucks County like, what is happening with the book bans, and who are these people, and tell us how much it hurts and how much you're fighting. And that has been really exhausting. Like, not only is it exhausting for kids to be going through this and to be, like, there were nights that Stella and her friends waited 6 hours in like freezing cold or 100-degree heat, depending on what time of year, just to get into a school board meeting to have a seat because the school board refused to put it in a bigger space. Like, there was so much of that and so many people recording the kids through all of this. And I can't really express how healing and loving and caring and frankly just Black queer perspectiving, which is just a weird thing I just said, like that, because of who Natalie is. And now that I've gotten to know you more, because we got to hang out in London, which was amazing. But just seeing, I mean, you can feel that. Like, when we first sat down and had coffee, I was like, all right, this is cool. Like, I was like, who is this person that wants to come in and film the Youth of the Rainbow Room? Like, I was so suspicious. Because it's been happening a lot and I feel protective. And this was like, there were so many ways that care was honored, and it's clear in the film, and it's clear even just walking through the British Film Institute film festival with Natalie, like, oh, Marlene, come meet this person and come meet, like, there's just a generosity that is part of queer community, that was also part of the whole process. And that felt like, I mean, like Natalie had a wellness person on the set that stopped and checked in with us and said, how are you doing? Like, let's take a break and just come check in. And I'm like, not used to this. I'm used to, like, I got to have a tough skin. I got to keep going. They don't care. We're just moving from this clip to that. And ooh, something over here is interesting and something over there. And there's just a lot of care. And that is, I think, very evident in the final product and in what you talked about of feeling that connection here. Like, I feel a sense of trust, and that is absolutely not what has been experienced, not been the experience of a lot of us in this community. And I don't even know what the thorn is. I mean, I'm not trying to be cheesy. Like, I'm sure there were, yeah, I don't know that it wasn't twice as long, and that there wasn't more Stella, and like,
That's amazing.
yeah,
We'll have to do a part 2.
yeah.
But I wanted to give a shout out to our really amazing health and wellness counselor, Chloe Cole Wilson, who's a social worker and does a lot of work with queer and trans youth, and really, helped to make sure we were all cared for. And if you're a filmmaker on here,
Yes.
I would say always think about how you can have care for your team, and your talent, people who are telling like their real life stories, because that's something that, I think is so important. And documentary has done a lot of harm by not taking care of the people in front of the camera. And I think that's something that like we really should change.
That's absolutely amazing. Just so phenomenal. Like every step of the way, just everything, Natalie, that you have done to create this film is just so like impressive and like heartwarming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene, for sharing. That is just so that kind of background of like the mistrust of like being recorded also, and just like having people in a like safe space is really very true and resonates. And I can understand being protective. I feel the same way about, my program of Youth Voices. Like, we want to take care of these young people that we work with. But I'm so glad that you were able to like do this and find a way to do this in a safe way that made you feel empowered. So cool. Okay, Stella, last but not least, share with us your rose and thorn.
Absolutely. Rayleigh, we actually, and I mentioned I do mock trial earlier, we do this also. We also add a bud, which is like something that you think you can improve on. So I'm very familiar with the rose and the thorn of it all. I will start with my thorn, I suppose. Because I do have one, and I knew what it was going to be immediately. And that is, in the film, and I mentioned this earlier sort of ad nauseum, but now that we've all seen it and have that reorientation of the perspective, I'll bring it up again. At this point in my life, I knew that a transition to womanhood was on the horizon. Like I knew that it was there. I knew that it was coming, and I wanted to let it happen as it was. But as we were filming, I was like, in however many years, I'm going to be watching this and promoting this and loving it and putting it on a platform, and my name is going to be different and my pronouns are going to be different. And that was something that I had to just know. And I had to grapple with, how do I feel about that? And how I feel about it is, no matter how much external transphobia makes me want to not be as open about my gender identity as I am, because there come times where I am curled up in my room or in this room and having legitimate spirals about the fact that I have put myself in a position where other people can see and perceive and engage with my story and my background, and that my trans identity is something that is very paramount in the person that I am. That can get really stressful, especially in the political and social climate that presently exists. So having to grapple with that was hard, but it is potentially the most important thing I've ever done. Because like I mentioned earlier, the very little trans representation we have is not not in progress. It is, we come to the end of a trans person's story, especially trans women, because trans misogyny is crazy. We see trans women that are, fully realized and understood, and the mention of, the people that, or the bodies that they occupied pre-transition, or the social experiences that they were engaging with pre-transition, are sort of cast aside, which, like I mentioned, is very palatable for a non-trans audience. And I think it's really important to see that this film that talks about my identity as a trans person and my experience as a trans person doesn't come at the end. And there are many, many experiences that people will get to engage with, such as this, where they get to see me now. I am, fully transitioned. I have, changed my name. I'm coming up on a year since I've changed my name. I just hit, last month, I hit a year of being on HRT. This is very much like we are bloomed, not to be cheesy, but yeah. And that is something that I think is really important, because so much of that middle bit where people still don't really know what's going on is often cast aside in representation, and there's already not enough representation, right? And so when I watched I Saw the TV Glow, I mentioned it earlier, it also really resonated with me, because that's another story where it doesn't come at the end of this person's experience. In fact, it's sort of that film sort of comes in the beginning middle type vibe. It's very, if you are trans and have not seen I Saw the TV Glow, I think it is a great movie, but it's also something that I would recommend emotionally preparing yourself for, because there was this feeling deep in my stomach that I was like, whoa, what did I, whoa, just whoa, because it was something that resonated with me, and that's not something that I feel often. And it was very, almost spiritual to engage with other stories that mirror the difficulty of being trans right now. So that was my thorn that turned into not a thorn. I don't want to necessarily say a rose, because it's something that I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with, because like I mentioned earlier, I don't have this sort of this diamond exterior where everything is completely fine. Because I am still uncomfortable with it sometimes. When people asked me in London why I was in London, and I explained the film, and I was like, yes, I'm the subject of it. It was before I changed my name because I am trans. It's like, it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's really, really difficult to talk about sometimes, even as someone that is so practiced in talking about it. Now to the rose, which is literally all of it. It's so incredible. The experience during and after has been incredible. I even, the connection that I have with these people. Obviously, my mother, I've known her for a pretty long time. But the Marlene, who I've known since I was 12, 13. And then Natalie, who I met when I was 17 doing this film, are all such important people in my life. I truly cannot underscore, these are very incredibly important people. And I think you can see sort of the connection of it all. When Natalie shouted out Johanna, I had just put it in the Twitch chat, and we were separately on the same wavelength. but also like this experience has been so important to me. And like shout out to Joanna, because I literally have the still of the sunflower from the end of the film on my forearm. Marlene, did you not know that? Yeah, I have it right here.
Wow.
And then roses along the side. I'll give you guys 3 guesses as to why there might be some roses. And this was my first tattoo. That's where it is. It is not, I have 4 right now. I have this Medusa right here. I have Lady Justice here on my forearm. And then I have a lock, shock, and barrel tattoo from the night before Christmas on my thigh, with my siblings. They each have one as well. So truly the members of the community that I found that became integral parts of my support system. And then something else that has been very interesting is the people that see the film and then like come up to me to talk about it is crazy, because the reorienting it as if I saw a film like this and wanted to go up to the subject and talk about them, I would be a little bit awestruck and inspired. And I have been before, and I've gone up to people and said, I just want to say what you do is incredible. I think you're amazing. It brought me to tears, whatever. But there is a feeling that comes with being chased after in London and somebody saying, I'm so sorry if you're in a rush. I hate to be a bother. I hate to, to hold you if you're leaving, but I needed to tell you, I saw your film today and I have been here at this festival, all 11 days, and I've seen so many films and none of them brought me to tears until yours. There is an experience and a emotional understanding that is very hard to explain, because seeing myself as a 19-year-old girl, really, who doesn't really have anything figured out, and sort of tries to talk about my experience and tries to be the representation that I looked for when I was younger, and tries to be a voice for the people that aren't comfortable or aren't able to be voices, or that have lost their voice or whatever. That warring with the fact that I am a 19-year-old girl in college who is doing this for the first time and is being candid, wildly insecure and very nervous and very anxious all the time, and always worried if what I'm doing is right and if what I'm saying is right, and checking in with the people around me and calling my mom and saying, I don't know if what I'm doing is right. I don't know if I am saying the right things or doing the right things, or if I'm cut out for this, or if I'm the person that everybody thinks that I am. And that is equally as important as the moments of strength, the many, many moments of strength that come from the film and from doing things like this. I think acknowledging that I am wildly anxious and I am trying my best and I am a human is equally as important as the joy and the platform and the work that I've done and became comfortable with doing, that fleeting and not so fleeting imposter syndrome and all of the things alike that come with it. I think is really important to pair with the experience that everyone saw, because hearing so many things from people like, you're incredible, the work that you're doing is fantastic, et cetera, it is important for those people to know that I'm doing this for the first time. And if people watch this, because I've had so many people tell me that they wished they could be like me, I just want the people to know that you already are by virtue of being. So that's my rose, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Stella, you are just I appreciate you so much for being so candid and honest and transparent and just raw and like authentically you. You have always been that way, and it has just been so amazing to like get to witness your journey from, when we started working together, all the way to this. And you are just like becoming more and more self-actualized and more like even more of an inspiration every single day. And so it is such an honor to get to witness that. I'm so glad that I asked this question of the Rose and Thorn, because it kind of answered all of the other questions I had leading like afterwards. And we are at time, so it kind of worked out. But I do have one final question that I did really just want to end on. Rose, I want to ask you, what advice do you have for other parents of LGBTQ plus young people?
So I was so nervous about this that I actually gave myself a cue card, because there were so many things that I wanted to say. But what I have is, if I could talk to all of the parents, pay attention, because you'll see the signs that your child is having identity questions about themselves. Allow them to know that it's okay for them to be who they are, and that you are a safe space. Um, you will support them, you will protect them, and most of all, you will defend them. And you don't have to go running out into the community and, start up a ruckus, but you can defend your child in ways that are very profound. I walked into schools a dozen times to protect and defend my child when I knew that other people were not defending her. Be honest and open with your child, and talk openly about your feelings and their feelings, because don't take it for granted that they know what you're thinking. So many times there is miscommunication, and you think you're communicating, but inside that scared child, inside that mind of all kinds of things going on, your message may be not heard the way it needs to be heard. So, and a lot of times, I mean, we weren't perfect. If I could go back in time and have those conversations again, um, you know, I think that clearer communication, would have been better for Stella, especially. Um, accept the support from family members, but don't count on it. It might not be there, and that's okay. Um, and if it is, rejoice in that. And if it's not, they'll either come along and get it, or they won't. The most important person is your child, and the most important person is your child's journey. The most important thing is the journey. And is it hard? Absolutely. But to watch your child's smile reach her eyes is probably the most monumental thing a parent can experience. When Stella smiles, it reaches her eyes, and it is the best thing I could ever ask for. Thanks, Stell.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Rose. You have us all crying. That is really special. I'm so glad I saved that question, because we needed that.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Just any last little bits or shout outs from any of you that you'd like to share? Yeah, Stella, go ahead.
Wow. Oh my
Gosh.
God, what the hell? I wanted to say, because she said that you don't have to run into the community and make a ruckus, but I would like to make it clear that while you don't have to, she did. But secondarily, I want to say, following that, that first of all, Mom, that was incredible. You really found all the right things to say. That was really good. I wasn't planning on crying today, but I guess I had to pencil it into my schedule. But my mom is terribly stage frighty. She has been for quite a while. And when we went to film, I remember how nervous she was. And so hearing her speak so candidly and incredibly and being so open and lovely. Thank you, Frogacado. Those are exactly the words I was looking for. Is really inspiring because it really hammers in the point that this was not a journey that we went on separately, but rather that we went on together and came out on the other side, both like blooming individuals, right? Like I am the sunflower and she is the roses of it all. And we both came out with broader petals and facing the sun.
Aww. That is beautiful. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Any other closing remarks from anyone? Anything you'd like to shout out or say as we close?
I will just share that a very powerful moment for me was after the film when Stella had left Bucks County and was safely at college in Southern California and sent me videos of like, I'm just walking down around campus and look at this mural and look at this thing on the bulletin board. And oh my gosh, my professor. And like, it was so profound to realize, and this is not how it should be. Kids should not have to leave their community, their home. They should not have to leave Doylestown. They should not have to leave the Central Bucks School District or any school district in order to bloom. And I'm so grateful that that happened and that, you know, along this metaphor, that fertilizing and the seeds all happened here in this community. And I just want any, you know, queer kids out there to know that there are people and spaces and ways to find and build love and support where you are. And if not, I mean, it's cheesy, but it is the whole concept behind this organization that it gets better. Like, it's also going to get really freaking hard, and it's going to be, you know, and it doesn't get better in all the same ways. Like, this is a beautiful story, but we also know, Stella, as you've shared, there's still a lot of hard stuff out there. So I just want to also express my gratitude to It Gets Better for what you do and for giving us a chance to connect again, because this is also what queer community is about. And if we would actually not just protect queer kids, but center them and follow their lead, the world would be so much
better,
so much more beautiful,
So
much more peaceful and dynamic and incredible. So thank you all. And thank you, Stella, for the example that you are and for leading all of us.
And I would like to thank also New Hope Celebrates, because they were so wonderful with us. So shout out to New Hope Celebrates. We love you.
Right on.
Amazing, amazing. Marlene, anything else from you before we close out?
I mean,
Oh, sorry. I meant Natalie.
No, I was just going to say, yeah.
I just, you know, I also wanted to just say that we hope that this film reminds you that it does get better and shows you that. And, you know, I think that it's, you know, we can't ignore that it's hard right now. But I think that finding community where you are, even if it's online, in adults, in your peers, really does change and save lives. And I just want to thank all of you for trusting me and telling your stories and being a part of this film, because the impact that it's already had has been so incredible. And I just want to, you know, remind people that you can tell your story too, and that it might be really hard, especially if you are in that in between stage or you're still developing. I mean, we all are, but how Stella said, like that part of the journey is important and is valid. And I'm just so proud of you, Stella, for your bravery and vulnerability with all of us. It's something that I definitely did not have when I was your age. And yeah, I'm just really so happy to be a part of this film. And I hope that, other filmmakers out there, other folks out there, can just be inspired to also tell their story and not be afraid to be vulnerable, no matter what part of the journey you're in.
Yes. Round of applause, snaps, all the things. This was so incredible. Thank you all so, so much for being here on Trans Day of Visibility, and for sharing your hearts and souls with us. I cannot say thank you enough.